Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear children, how are you? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you the leader of muttaqeen. Ameen. Barakallahu feekum. Let's say the dua and start our lesson. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma. Ameen. My dear children, as you know, that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took some wise steps, and due to those steps there was no war and there was peace for almost a year or a year and a half. But the Jews would not stop plotting against the Muslims. So 20 leaders from the Jews of Khaybar went to Quraysh and convinced them to attack Medina and gave them a surety that they will support them. Then they went to Banu Ghatfan and other tribes and convinced them. So they managed to get a lot of tribes together to attack Medina at once. Prophet ﷺ got the news in time about this plotting thing. So he gathered all the companions and consulted. Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu gave the suggestion of digging a trench. So as you know that three sides of Medina was covered with the volcanic mountains, so there was no fear from there, but only the north side was empty and there was fear of attack from there. So they decided that they would dig a trench 1 mile long on the north side. Prophet ﷺ appointed 10 men for a certain length of land and joined in digging and carrying the mud. Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum were reading poems of encouragement and Prophet ﷺ joined them. It was a very hard task. Due to continuous attacks and wars, the economy of Medina was not doing good. There was not much food these days. So the food would be made in smelly fat, which was hard to eat. But they had no other choice. This is the time when Sahaba had a stone tied to their stomach so that they would feel that there is something in their stomach. They were so hungry. And when they showed it to the Prophet ﷺ, Prophet ﷺ showed them that there were 2 stones tied to his stomach because he was more hungrier than them. Subhanallah. Now, there were some few signs and miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the companions saw during this time. Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu was so sad. So he went back, he slaughtered a small goat and quietly asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come and eat with a few Sahaba. But Prophet ﷺ asked all the people who were working on the trench to come and eat. And the host was scared. But the Prophet ﷺ made dua. And while each and everyone from 1,000 people, they came and they ate. And the food did not finish, subhanallah. That was a miracle. And acceptance of the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. And a lady brought a few dates. And Prophet ﷺ scattered them on a piece of cloth and asked them to come one by one and take the dates, but the dates wouldn't finish. Subhanallah. While digging the trench, there were a few hard rocks, and the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ to help them. And Prophet ﷺ broke them with one strike, and he gave them the glad tidings of the conquest of Syria and Yemen and Persia. At that time, the hypocrites made fun of the Muslims, saying, "Have a look at these crazy people. We can't even go to the washroom due to the fear of attack. And here they are talking about the conquest of these superpowers." We should remember that Quraysh came with 4,000 fully equipped army with 300 horses and 1,000 camels. The leader was Abu Sufyan. And Banu Ghatfan came with 6,000 men from their own tribe and from the other Arab tribes. Such a huge army at the borders of such a small city of Medina was a huge danger, and it was a big test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran about this situation, saying, "And then your eyes spun around and your hearts leapt to your throats. You began to doubt the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet in this was a trial for the believers an immense shock. At that time, the hypocrites started to say that Allah and His Messenger ﷺ have promised us nothing but delusions. And they said, O Ahl Yasrib, there is no need to stay here, let's go back. And one of the group came and said, Inna buyutana awra, that our homes are without any caretaker, even though their houses were safe. Now, Prophet ﷺ left Abdullah ibn Maktoum as the head of the Medina, put the women and the children in a fort for their safety, and went to confront the army of 10,000 people with his 3,000 men. Between two armies, there was this trench. Arabs had never ever faced or saw such a strategy, so they were really angry, and they kept on trying to see from where they can cross the trench to enter Medina. Whenever they would try, Muslims would throw arrows and stones on them, so they would back up. The situation was so dangerous that the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba couldn't read their salahs in time, and they read them later on. At that time, the salah of fear, Salatul Khawf, was not revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this whole siege lasted for almost a month. The fear, extreme cold, and hunger was hard on the Muslims. The enemy tried to cross the trench so many times, but they failed. Enemy lost their 10 men and Muslims lost their 6 men. Now, my dear children, we are going to stop here and have a look. What did we learn from this part of the story? The first thing is that Prophet ﷺ always consulted the Muslims around him whenever there was an important issue. It is a very good practice. If we also consult others, then the responsibility is equally divided on all the participants, and everyone feels his importance and feels happy. The second thing that we understood is that Prophet ﷺ was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a religious leader. He was the head of the state. He was the general of the army. But still, when it came to working, he shared the work with the ordinary soldiers. That means that our leader is not to be sitting around and other people are working, but he should share the work so that he can be close to the hearts of the people. Okay, my dear children, till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.